Alright guys, Mr. Martin back again. In this little live video I'm going to be talking about the different deadlift weak points and the possible causes for them, okay? So it's the same style of video as the bench and the squat that I went over with yesterday. Actually that was Tuesday. Yeah, that was Tuesday. We're going to go over the deadlift now, and then after this is posted, I'm going to make a few videos about different exercises you can kind of use to address those weak points if a simple technical change isn't what you need to do. So, we're going to start with off the floor. Number one problem with strength off the floor or getting stuck right off the ground is a lack of tightness. You see this a lot with people who just walk up to the bar, put their hands on it, and they go, "Bleh." When you do that, you're not going to be able to generate a lot of power off the ground, okay? Because you're not producing the adequate tightness in your upper back to stay in position and be able to drive the bar off the ground. Second reason, your hips could be in a bad position, either too high or too low. So I've seen people deadlift with really high hips with their butt real high in the air, and then I see some people squat all the way down and try and squat it off the ground. You're not going to be able to get the bar moving with an adequately heavy weight unless your hips are in the correct position. So really high hips or really low hips, you're not going to get a maximum weight moving properly or even at all in most cases, okay? If you get a bar moving in one of those positions, the weight is not the most you can lift. Even if it's technically a PR, you could lift more weight, okay? And I struggle with having my hips a little bit too high, so I have to sit into the bottom of the deadlift a little bit more than some people. And I see a lot of people, especially sumo guys, like to sit into it and try and treat it like a squat. It's not a squat, okay? So you got to find your proper hip position to be able to generate maximum force. Third reason, you might just be too weak. If you load 800 pounds on the bar and try to lift it, it is not going to come off the ground if you only deadlift 300 pounds, okay? So it could be a chance that the weight is just a little too heavy for you and you can't actually move the bar yet. You haven't earned the right to move that weight yet. So you got to keep training and keep going. I'm going to add a fourth point right here, actually. Fourth point, the weight might just psych you out. The weight scares you. I have suffered from this a few times in my training career, and it could just be that you've built up a habit of missing a certain weight or really struggling with a certain weight. For me, a few years ago, it was 405 on the deadlift. I'd walk up and I'd see the 4 plates there, and I would anticipate the weight moving really slow because I pulled it so many times and got it to move really slow. I've grinded that one out so many times that every time I see 4 plates on the bar, I used to just think it was going to move real slow, and I'd not pull as hard as I can, therefore the bar would move really slow. So in order to get over this, you just need to focus on getting in the correct position and pulling as hard as you can, okay? Do not psych yourself out. And I understand that it's easier said than done, but in order to build up the confidence to move these weights, I would spend a lot of time doing nothing that you're going to miss. So in your training, you should not be missing any reps. Every time you walk up to the bar, you should be 100% confident you are going to be able to lift the bar. I mean, when you come to like a max day or something, that's a different story. But when we're talking about normal training, 10s, 8s, 5s, 3s, things like that, every single time you walk up to the bar, you should be able to lift the weight, okay? If you're missing weights in training, you're training too heavy, something's off, okay? Chances are the weight's too heavy. That's mostly what I see in a weight room like this, in a high school weight room. People train with weight that is too heavy to do what they need to be able to do to get better. So, that one. This is only really a factor off the ground. Once the bar is moving, even if it's a slow rep, it's not really going to be the same kind of intimidation factor of the weight. Now you just got to get it moving. It's off the ground. It's already going. So now you just got to keep going after that. The second spot I see people get stuck is around the knee. Most of the time, it's below the knee a few inches. And this is because the 3 main reasons I see is because, number one, the bar drifts away from you. When you're holding the bar, I'll use this belt as an example right here. If you're holding the bar, when you get to your knee right here, that is the farthest, the anatomically farthest position from your hips, which is where the power is coming from in your body to move the barbell. If you let the bar drift away from you, if you can see sunlight between your leg and the bar at the knee, your hamstrings are having to work overtime to get that weight to move, and you're putting yourself at a massive disadvantage by doing that, okay? So, my solution to fixing the bar drifting away from you, practice some pause deadlifts, and make sure every single rep you do, you use your hands and you actively pull that bar into you. If you do that, you're going to avoid the problem of the bar getting in front of you, okay? And the bar can get in front of you out of off the floor too. I would still recommend pause deadlifts. I have people who have this issue, have them perform pause deadlifts as their deadlift assistance exercise, and for most of them it works. If it doesn't work because they still let the bar drift in front of them, then it's just a matter of teaching them to pull the bar into their body, okay? Number 2, weak hamstrings, and this goes into what I was just talking about a second ago. If your hamstrings are string cheese instead of normal hamstrings, you will not be able to get it past your knee, okay? I don't care how strong you are right off the ground. If your hamstrings aren't strong enough to pull the weight here, your back is either going to round or you're just going to miss at the knee. Solution for this, do more RDLs. RDL is a stiff leg deadlift where you start from the top, okay? You start right here, top position, so you're not starting off the ground. You start here at the top, you're not going to touch the ground either. So you start here, keep your back neutral. Do not let your back round over or flex in any position. You're going to bend your knees slightly, and you're going to sit backwards with your hips towards the wall behind you. Your butt's going to go towards the wall behind you. That's going to put a massive stretch on your hamstrings, and do enough of those for enough time, your hamstrings will guarantee you get stronger, and you'll be able to move weight you never moved before, okay? RDLs is a staple in almost every single person that I program, whether it be with dumbbells or barbells, okay? And then the last point, you got too rounded. This has happened to me only one time in my life. This was at a competition back, I want to say either 2017 or 2018. It was a 480 deadlift at the time, which was, it was a PR. So I don't know how big of a PR. It was a PR, that's all I know. And I got it off the ground, my back rounded over, and I got it here, and I lean back, and I'm stuck. The erector muscles that go up and down your spine on the sides are not strong enough to uncoil yourself in a bad position like that. That's why it's so important to stay in a good neutral spine position, because that ensures all the other muscles can do their job properly and extend the hips forward. So, if you're a round back puller, you might just be too rounded. Fix that. That'll pay off in the long run. Deadlift with as flat a back as you can manage, that's going to get you the biggest and strongest deadlift quickly, okay? And then the last point where I see people get stuck at is the lockout. And the lockout is anywhere from, I would say, above the kneecaps up. That's what I would consider a lockout, depending on how long your arms are. If you have really monkey arms, like really long orangutan arms, and you lock out at your knees, then it'll be a little bit lower. But 9 times out of 10, your back is too rounded, okay? If you're missing that lockout, you're getting to the top, your upper back and your lower back probably are too rounded over for you to be able to finish the deadlift, because those muscles can't uncoil themselves and straighten your back out. Another reason that could be it, I've seen this happen a few times, it's happened with me once or twice, is a loss of balance, only when you're pulling sumo for me, but it could happen anywhere, but especially sumo. When you're deadlifting sumo, your feet are not pointed straight ahead like they would be in a conventional, or at least mostly straight ahead. They'll be angled out quite a bit because of the hip external rotation that you have to do. If you externally rotate your hips and your toes are straight forward, it's going to be a really crappy looking deadlift. So when you pull sumo, you're going to want your hips and your toes pointed in the same direction out, and that's why you lose balance, possibly, because you have less front to back stability compared to a conventional deadlift with your feet straight forward, okay? So if your feet are pointed out here more, like this, feet are out here, somebody tries to push you over, it'll be a lot easier for them to push you over because you don't have as much surface area front to back to balance yourself on. When you're pulling conventional, you have the maximum area of your feet forward and backwards to keep you from falling over, okay? That's why sometimes people lose balance. If you're strong enough, you'll experience some whip in the barbell, which just means the bar bounces a little bit. The weight is making the bar flex like that. And if you do a really fast, heavy deadlift, especially sumo, you'll hit the top, and that whip will hit you, and it'll make you jerk back down because you weren't prepared for it. This last point is very, very unlikely, but it is possible. You might have just weak glutes. You might just be weak at the very top. This is very, very rare. I've not actually trained anybody that has this issue. If you're missing at lockout, 9 times out of 10 it's your back. Sometimes it'll be your balance if you're pulling sumo. 9 times out of 10 it's your back still. This would be the least of anybody's concern when it comes to fixing their lockout. If you feel like you have a lockout problem, you're getting max deadlifts all the way up, but you're missing right at the top, 2 or 3 inches from locking out, film yourself from the side while you deadlift and look at how your back is positioned. If your back looks like a slinky going down the stairs, you're too rounded, okay? If your back is nice and straight and you still have issues locking out, you might just have the bar out in front of you too much, or you might have weak glutes. Okay, so this ignore this one almost. This is like a last resort thing if you're in perfect position. Focus on these two, okay? But those are the ways, or those are the places I see people get stuck on a deadlift, and those are the causes and possible fixes for that. I will go over different movements to fix these weak spots in a different video, okay? Stay tuned. I hope you guys have a good day.